Hello, I'm Alice. I live in Southeast Michigan, Zone 6. I like to share my recipes, organic gardening methods, and preserving techniques with my viewers who love to cook and garden, so therefore they get the most out of their harvest. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my hydroponic machine here that is by AeroGarden, and I'm going to be loading it up with herbs and tomatoes. Sally, my supervisor, just reminded me that I should tell you about some of the products that I'm using. Quality assurance over here. So there are membranes that are in the pods. So they are preloaded like this. I take them out and I soak them in water. The water that I use is filtered. That way I don't have any interference with the nutrient that is provided. Because if it had high mineral content or stuff like that in the water, like chlorine and all of that, it can interfere with the nutrient intake. So it is better to do filtered water. I'm going to be loading some basil in the middle and then doing heirloom cherry tomatoes that were provided by AeroGarden. The food that is provided by Miracle-Gro is not organic, but it is very clean because it's only derived from minerals such as calcium and things like that. There is no GMOs and there's no other chemicals involved. It is very concentrated. You can dilute this, by the way, and water your houseplants. Tomato and basil plants are actually companions. They grow in the same exact conditions, and when they're out in the garden, they smell wonderful to us, but things like a hornworm, which are the nemesis of tomato plants, they smell, they're like, gotta go. And it's been proven in some clinical trials that the basil will go through and actually help flavor the tomato, which is pretty cool. So that is why I'm doing basil in the center and tomatoes on the edges. Because you want to make sure when I put up the trellis that it supports it. But taller pods and stuff like that, when you have plants, you want to be on the edges and the smaller stuff in the center. Basil is a fast grower, so I don't have to worry about shading problems either. Wanted to show you another tip. I use Castile soap to clean the machine and I rinse it very well before doing anything. I am going to be growing using the versatile grow anything pods. I took the time and wrote what type of basils that I'm going to be using. I am pre-soaking the membrane. I'm going to load the heirloom cherries in the machine and I will gently pour the water over them to make sure they're nice and hydrated. I am going to load my pod. I have a Genovese here. This is nice and soaked, my membrane. I'm going to take my Genovese seeds provided by Mission Gardener. They use heirloom. Heirloom is fantastic because it's been proven to be just like the parent and has been going for 40 years, so they have adapted to diseases and issues. And they're non-GMO, so fantastic. I load about 3 seeds. The reason you load a few seeds at a time is if you just do one probability of one growing, it may not happen. Not all seeds are gonna grow. So you have a percentage of generally 50-50. So putting more in here, and then if they're weaker, you just take them out later. The preloaded pods do have the seeds, as you can see there. When you're connecting this into the machine, you see there's the water port. Make sure that that lines up. And you're going to click it in, press both sides. The Genovese basil is going to be bigger leafed than the spicy. Spicy is not like hot food. It means it's just more potent than normal basil. This is why I love to grow it. So these guys are being smaller leaf are going to be here, and then the Genovese basil, which is very good, good grower for me too, are going to go in the back. The tomatoes, like I explained earlier, want the support of the trellises on the edge. It is so easy to find filtered, purified water. So I am just going to pour that right over the preloaded to make sure that membrane is soaked. This is a little messy, but you don't want to rely just on the machine. So you want to have a very good hydration. Plus the water, you can see, is draining down. It's not a big deal. Then I will fill the reservoir. There is a fill line. You want to make sure the water is always filled up to that. So always have some water available to top it off. If you allow it to go down too far, you're not going to have the pods being watered properly. You'll have not as good of a chance to get your sprouting and growing a healthy plant. So keep an eye on that. Go by the suggested amount for the food. This is a 9 pod that I am filling. When you are first starting up, you only do 2 capfuls. About after 2 weeks, it says your next feeding is when you're going to increase to 3. Place down all of the caps. Make sure they're nice and secure. I did a final press of all of the pods to make sure they're clicked in properly. What I love about this system is that you can do everything digitally. So I want to start this off at 6 o'clock so it'll mimic what's naturally going on outside. What I really love about hydroponics is they allow me to grow all year long. So in the winter, when most of us are sad because we can't be out there in our gardens enjoying ourselves, you can watch the plant grow in your own home. I also use it to start the plants for the season in the spring because I have done a test and trial. I have done the standard trays with the little grow pods, you just keep adding water to it, versus doing the hydroponic machine. It grew double as fast in the hydroponic start. Then I just transferred it to a softer soil. I will do that in a future video, by the way, and teach you all about that. If you enjoyed today's episode, click that like button. So therefore, the algorithm will work in your favor. By subscribing to the channel, you will be notified of new content. In the description box below, I will have all the products that I've used and that I suggest. Thank you very much for reviewing today. Take care.